Hi, it's Del Jackson. We got a special LLhoops here tonight. We got Bethany Miller from WGAL, new sports director. How you doing, Bethany?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah. Well, we're like a baby media company, and you're like the big boys. So we're big girls. So we're going to talk to you about your job and your background. So let's start with your background here. I know you and I talked a little bit off camera, but tell us kind of where you're from, what your background is in the sports, and we'll go from there.
I'm originally from Shrewsbury, Pennsylvania, so I'm back home in my market, back home with family, and back home covering the teams I grew up playing. So that's really nice. Went to Susquehannock High School, graduated in 2014. Um, from there, I went to the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, always. Um, my first job in this career was in Evansville, Indiana. That's where I met my husband. Spent 3 years there, and then moved on, went to Albuquerque, New Mexico for 2.5 years, and am now back in Lancaster and so happy to be a part of such a legacy station and really the best station in WGAL. So it's been really fun so far.
Nice. Hey, let me dig into the background because I'm taking notes here. I'm like, all right, Alabama. So tell me about the experience going to Alabama and maybe sitting in the stands and just watching that type of football.
Well, what's really cool is that at Alabama, I chose Alabama, was the only school I applied to, only school I got into. I just knew I wanted to go be free and go to a really big university with really great football because I knew this is what I wanted to pursue. So luckily at Alabama, they actually have a TV station within the university. They're
Mhm.
only one of two. The only other university that has such is Missouri that actually compete in a market. So we competed alongside Birmingham stations, which was really cool. So my senior year, I got to cover the 2018 national championship winning team. So I was in Atlanta. I was on the field and in the locker room when Tua Tagovailoa threw the pass to
Yeah.
Devontae. So it's really cool. I got to experience sort of both sides. I got to experience a national championship as a fan. I got to experience it with my friends. And then I got to experience it doing what I love. And it's really awesome. And I love to tell the story because if anybody remembers that game, if anybody's a football fan, I know this is basketball, but football, Alabama did not play well in the first half of that game, and everybody thought that they were going to lose to Georgia.
Mhm.
Um, and I kind of, as a person doing my job and not as a fan, had to like take a step back and say, no matter who wins this game, I'm going to be on the field under the confetti, whether it's red and black or red and
Yeah,
white.
sure.
Um, so which is really cool because obviously I didn't have to, watch Georgia hoist that trophy. So it was really cool. And covering Nick, the greatest college football coach of all time, Nick Saban, was really awesome. I was in his press conferences. And so it really, that program and doing what I did really built me up for my career later. So I'm so grateful.
Excellent. So Indiana, basketball state. I mean, is it what we think it is in high school hoops?
I think it really is. And I think um it's the tradition more so. I feel like everywhere has really great talent. I've been in a lot of markets and have seen a lot of great basketball players, but I think in Indiana especially, like the atmospheres and the gymnasiums that we were in and covering these kids winning state championships was so cool and so awesome to be a part of. And I am actually now, because I married into the family, I'm a huge Indiana Hoosiers fan. Basketball, my allegiance will always be for Bama with football, but um, yeah, basketball is huge there. It's rightfully so, and it was really awesome being a part of that. When I was there, since we have basketball fans, I don't know if they remember the Evansville Purple Aces defeated Kentucky as the number one seed. I was there.
Okay.
Nobody thought it was going to happen. And so it was really cool because it was a part of history. And I think at the time I didn't really like understand what was happening. And then the next day when it was on Sports Center, I was like, oh my goodness, I was there and that happened. So it's really cool.
Okay, so you got two great stories. How can New Mexico beat those stories? I mean, seriously. It's like,
Yeah,
oh
I
my
don't know.
golly.
I Yeah, they are. And I will say New Mexico was really fun for me. Sorry, my email keeps going off. Work never stops here. Um, New Mexico was a really cool sort of adventure for me and my now husband. We spent 2.5 years in the desert. And I
Ooh,
will say if you have any time in your life, whoever's listening, like go out there and experience what that culture is because it was really, really awesome. I loved what I did out there. Obviously, they have the University of New Mexico, and so for basketball fans,
sure.
the Lobos and
Oh,
being in the pit. was
It.
so cool. Yes, because I started when me and Richard Pitino came in at the same time. So they were really trying to rebuild the program. And so the first year that I was there, it was kind of like, okay, there's only like 8,000 people here, whatever. And by the time I left, they were selling out every single home game. It's deafening in there. And of course, they made the NCAA tournament after I left. Of course,
Right,
that was
right.
their gift to me that I couldn't cover that. But it was really awesome, and I miss it. I miss the weather, but obviously, I'm happy to be home too.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So like I'm going all over the map and I'm listening to what you're saying and I'm like, okay, so she covered Alabama football and now she's covering Penn State football. So help me without giving too many secrets away. What is the difference covering those two teams that you have found? I mean, obviously you've been in both big time football places covering. So tell me, is there differences, or is a big school, and you guys have the pressers, and I can read the pressers and all that stuff? So, how do you? Is there any comparison? Is it different or not?
I would say they're very similar. I feel like any university and any program, when you're sort of on the national stage like that and you're almost always in the top 25 and talked about in those circles, that it's very similar in that way. It is funny though, because I was obviously there when Nick Saban was there,
Mhm.
and the way he ran the program was so militant and everybody knew it. And obviously it produced results. So it's funny because when I was in Alabama, the media, I'm not even kidding you, would get 5 minutes to run out to the practice fields, look, and if you're me doing my job, I'm trying to get video of every single person my boss has told me to get, and I'm trying to do it under 5 minutes. I
Yeah.
can't find anybody on the field. Penn State gives you like 15 minutes. I'm out
Okay.
there, I'm like bored. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? It's not like a race. So it's really cool in that way. But they have been nothing but kind. I was there this past weekend. Bowling Green, obviously a formidable opponent that we found out, but it's been really cool and it's been really awesome. I have on my calendar November 2nd and November 9th already circled because at my heart, I'm such a football girl. And when Ohio State comes to town and then I get to experience my first whiteout against
Yeah.
Washington, I know that it's just going to be absolutely insane. So I'm really looking forward to it.
That's cool. Hey, do they put you on the? I know you do shots from the field, but where are you during a game? Are you down in the field or are you up in the press box?
I'm up in the press box because if there's food and you get to eat, you have the best view in the house. You get food, like you have everything. I do love being on the field. What I will say for obviously big time programs like that, they really, because if I'm on the field, then everybody's going to want to be on the field.
Yeah,
So they
sure.
only allow like two videographers at a time from your like station.
Mhm.
Um, and the sidelines are so. My photographer was complaining about it on Saturday. They're
Wow.
overrun with people. They're walking in front of people, and I don't want to be a nuisance.
Yeah.
So I stay up there. Everybody gets to go down on the field with about 5 minutes to go, I think, in
Okay.
regulation.
Okay.
So it's really cool. But no, I am in the press box with the food, with the Coca-Colas and the water and the ice cream. Penn State gives us the creamery ice cream, and so it's very nice of them to do that. I'm excited.
So after a game or close to the end of the game, do you get people in the locker room or do you try to get them on the field or a little bit of both? I know you do a wrap from the end of the field, or we've watched you here.
Of course. So it's not as free for all as like you see on NBC where they're grabbing. Like when you think about that, the Big Ten Network is grabbing coach and player. We don't have that sort of access.
Mhm.
So after a game, I can go down on the field and get, them hugging. I can get everything happening. But yeah, I can't interview anybody.
Got it.
We go back into the media room and we await. James Franklin goes to the locker room, talks to his guys, then he'll come and talk to us. And then they bring in a lot of players and the room is full of them. You walk up to whoever you want to interview. I do like that because it allows you sort of an intimate kind of one-on-one
Yeah.
availability to the players where
Yeah.
you don't really get that, I would say, if they're at a podium and they're behind, a desk and stuff like that. So it's nice to get to them in their natural element. But they've been nothing but kind and it's been really enjoyable to cover them so far.
All right, let's switch to high school. So high school football, I mean, you're doing Friday nights and then you're going to Penn State or Maryland or wherever the heck you're going, and then you're probably covering some games Saturday because the way our schedule is. So how, I mean, we got a lot of games going on at the same time. How do you guys from your viewpoint as a sports director, how do you kind of determine where you're going and how you guys are doing, the Friday night thing?
You say that about my schedule, and that's like literally why I have an energy drink at all times because that is how my life has been for the past 2 weeks. I'm very tired. Um, well, what's funny is that when I went just to give a brief thing on in New Mexico, we covered the whole state.
Hmm.
So it was very interesting, but obviously it's more populated in Albuquerque where I was. So it's kind of easy. You could get all the games. You could get the Thursday, Friday, Saturday games because there wasn't that many. And
Right.
so here I have an Excel spreadsheet of like every game happening week on a week by week basis. That's how my brain works. It's hard. And I think especially starting out with week one, we obviously wanted to get the best matchups and we also want to make sure that we have a presence in everywhere that we cover. So you'll hear me always say, like, we have crews in Lancaster, we have them in York, we have them in Harrisburg, we have them
Right. Right.
everywhere
Right.
because we want that to be covered.
Sure.
And so a lot of it is just, obviously the closer the better because we can't be anywhere and everywhere at once. But really finding those good matchups and kind of getting schools that we can't really get maybe on a weekly basis. It's very You're never going to make everybody happy, unfortunately. But we try our best to do so. And obviously there's great football talent here and we're excited to be covering it.
Yeah, we have so many schools. That's what I was
Yeah.
wondering. And how does it work? I'm just learning from you guys. It's like how you got crews here, 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 and here. How does the editing go? I mean, do you do that, or we got somebody like you have a specialty person that's doing the editing from all these games that you guys got cameras at? How's that work?
Everybody is doing it.
Okay.
If anybody was watching this past Friday night, me and Jacob did a full-blown sprint to the studio with 30 seconds until we had to be on. That is like how much we are cracking to the deadline. So it's really such a team effort. Right now, I think on a weekly basis, we have like 6 photographers
Okay.
who go out to games, 7, I think, if we're lucky. And yeah, you're really responsible for editing and sort of writing a little bit, at least telling us like, okay, number 16 threw a pass, number 26 helps us a little bit better find it on the roster.
Sure.
My background, my previous 2 stations, I did everything. Like I filmed it, I edited it, I wrote it, and then I anchored it on air. And I love high school football. It's really what I love to do. And so I wanted to still be part of that. So I go out and shoot our game of the week. So the game of the week that we present, that's my doing. So be kind. But I'm editing it. I'm writing about it. We're all just really doing our part. It's really a team effort. The whole newsroom, it's such a fun vibe on Friday nights. I always like to say it's a fun, stressful. Week one was a little more stressful than fun, but we're sort of revamping this Football Friday vibe, and we're trying to get more viewers who want to watch football content in our area. So we're just having fun with it and taking everybody along in the process.
Okay, so help me out with, I'm going to call, somebody going to call me out, other sports. I mean, I'm talking field hockey, soccer, things that are going on right now, cross country. How do you incorporate those into your nightly broadcasts or once a week? Is there logistics to that, or is this like, okay, here's 2 top soccer teams, and we're gonna send somebody out and do a little bit of clips on that?
Yeah, it's sort of kind of like a day-to-day basis. And you also have to think about what the viewers want because yes, there is such a high school conglomerate in this area, but there's also people that want to see their Phillies on a newscast every
Oh
night.
yeah,
And yeah,
yeah.
so it's I only have 3 minutes to work with, which is a very, very short time in the TV world when you think about it. I mean, you think you're watching a 30-minute newscast and I'm trying to squeeze in things to 3 minutes. So it's really a day-to-day basis. And of course, once we get into the playoffs of soccer, field hockey, you name it, girls volleyball,
Yeah,
that coverage will be more heavy
sure.
as it goes on. My vision and my idea is to have those schools when those programs, those sports and those schools, once we get to those tournaments, featured in Football Friday, because
Right.
I like to think that
Yeah.
the high school experience and the atmosphere is all about that. I played volleyball, I loved being a part of it. And I think it's so much more than just, I love football, but it's so much more than just that one game. It's about the people in the stands. It's about the cheerleaders. It's about all the other sports happening that can cultivate that sort of school loyalty vibe and
Yeah.
having that a part of it.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. I mean, our focus obviously is on basketball, and that's coming up. So you're going to have some issues with that too. You got You got your
Probably.
wrestling, you got your basketball,
Mhm.
um, and I'm sure we'll run into each other down the line, especially at district time. Um, but when you go to a game, a high school boys game, basketball, what's your, like, you're watching the game, you're doing some video or somebody's doing video. What's your thought process going in? I know as a writer, or if I do a Zoom or an interview or something, I know what I'm going to do, and I can sit back and I can write, and I'm under no pressure to get deadlines or anything like that. So what's your thought process going to a high school basketball game?
I think the thought process going into it is to tell the story of the game, just like you would be doing if you're writing. I'm just doing it through video. The problem is that when you think about a deadline and you think about getting those highlights on at 10 and 11, and if we're going to a game 30 minutes away, I can't stay till the end.
Yeah.
So throughout my career, throughout my 7, 8 years that I've been doing this, I every once in a while get someone who'll be like, "Why didn't you stay to the end of the game? Why didn't you get interviews?
Right.
Why didn't you do this?" It's like, because if I did, you wouldn't be watching the highlights
Right.
on air
Right.
right now. So
Yeah.
it's sort of this push pull of how do I tell the story of the game? How do I, kind of portray the atmosphere and the environment on TV while also doing it justice? And so I think really you don't really know how that's going to play out until the game starts going. And unfortunately, as a TV person, you get burned sometimes if you have to leave at halftime.
Yeah.
It happens. That's local news.
Yeah.
But you just kind of you keep going and doing the best you can to sort of provide that coverage and the highlights and tell those athlete stories.
Do you lean on the schools calling in scores and things like that for, let's say, basketball? I know football, you kind of, that's kind of covered. I
Sure.
mean, I don't know how you're doing that. Are you guys using a lot of social media, or you can't trust social media? I know sometimes we get burned on that. It's like, oh,
Really
I got a score here, and it's like, no, it wasn't the right score. And then it's like,
interesting.
yeah, we got to be a little bit careful now. I'm telling you, usually LLhoops is that's a pretty good source. We usually don't put something up there until either our writers are there or I get a book from the school. So I'm just curious if that happens in your line of work.
Yeah, and I think just to use football as an example, because we're literally in it right now, like max preps, we cannot trust ever.
No,
And it's
nope.
so funny to me because it varies by state. So like max preps when I was in New Mexico was the place to go for
Good,
things.
good. They were good.
Yeah, so it's like it differs from state because in Indiana, when I was there, couldn't trust max preps. And so it's really kind of this like push pull. I will say Twitter X is really helpful. I follow like all the beat writers in the area. I follow along and kind of get that through their coverage. Like
Sure.
that's what's so great about an area like this is people
Yeah,
are so passionate about it that they're covering it,
yeah.
which really helps us and benefits us. But obviously, if a school is calling in our scores, we're putting that in our ticker. We're making sure that that's covered. But really, social media, I want to say, is the biggest thing because then you can follow along, especially if you're live tweeting the games and you're doing things like that. And so it's really nice that way.
Let's just talk about social media. So WGAL, what what is your vision for the social media, or is it like we're doing our TV thing and social media is like something on the side, or is it like all tied in? Do you have a social media director? And help me out here.
We don't have, well, I shouldn't say that we don't have. We do have people that are relegated to just doing our digital work.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, what I will say is that since I started here in March and April and really started to take over, I feel like our sports website has only boosted. Like we're churning out a lot of content and articles, and we're making sure that those things are online and for people to access within our company. And it's not a WGL thing; it's like a whole broad
Mhm.
thing.
Yep.
They don't really use the analytics on X very
Got it.
much.
Got it.
So Facebook is really what they push. And unfortunately, I don't see a lot of, up to date sports coverage happening on Facebook. Like really X is happening in real time. So you're
Right.
doing it that way. I know that whenever we go out, we try to tweet as much as possible. Obviously, my partner, Jacob Hall, does as well. He's very good at that. Um, really trying to appeal to people that way. And we try to get our content up on social media. Our WJAL Twitter will share a lot of the articles and I'll try to repost them and things like that. But it's just difficult sometimes because also social media is just ever changing and you really never know what the most popular thing's going to be when you think about TikTok or YouTube or we're trying to access those markets and we're trying to do it, but you never know what it's going to be until it hits. So we're just really trying to, go with the flow in that respect.
Excellent. We go through that every year. I mean,
Yeah,
we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, what can we do? And we're a little bit more nimble than most just because we're
sure.
so small. It's like, all right, let's try this. Well, if it doesn't
Hmm.
work, it doesn't work, and it doesn't hurt us at all. So, we've tried different things and we've talked about some different things. We're doing some live streaming. We just kind of pick and choose, and that's kind of interesting. So we will
Hmm.
definitely put a link to the WGAL on our,
Please.
and we'll retweet some stuff. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that we have found with our little company is the X is that's our
Hmm.
kind of go-to.
Yeah.
But if we're doing advertising, the Facebook is crazy when we do something that we put a little ad up there and it drives people to it. It's very interesting, the Instagram and the TikTok, and it's interesting because it kind of comes and goes too. One year something will be hot, and then the next year not, and then the kids and it's an interesting thing that we do. So let's wrap up with this. So you've just started. Obviously, you got hired and came through the interview process really well. What what are your goals for WGAL sports? Like coming up, short term, long term. I mean, you haven't gone through one cycle yet, but you gotta with your background, you got a pretty good feel for what you want to accomplish at WGAL.
Yeah, for sure. I'm coming up on, I think, 6 months here in about a week. So that's pretty crazy that that's already flown by that quickly. When I think about WGAL sports, I think, we're coming into, and I know this station, I don't have to tell everybody, like number one station, legacy for a reason, because they've always hired talented people who have stuck here in this area and who have been sort of the faces of, their dinner times and waking up and things like that. And so I'm not trying to change that at all, but I do think that when you think about this era, and I think hiring someone like me who's a little bit younger, you're hiring Jacob Paul, we can sort of bring viewers into that, next place. Like, let's do something cool and
Mhm.
fun and, a little bit more high tech that maybe you're not used to seeing. And so we've already sort of done that. We've revamped our Football Friday show and have really made it sort of like the thing to watch, hopefully, in the Susquehanna Valley and doing it that way. But I just really hope that people watch. They sort of get stories. It's so cliche, but they get stories that they can't find elsewhere.
Sure.
We can always show you the X's and O's. You can tell us the highlights. I can show you the highlights. But let's tell the story of the athletes that are actually playing. And let's find those stories and bring them out to the community. Because if I can get somebody to not turn the channel after weather who maybe doesn't like sports and stick and watch, then I've done my job correctly. And so that's my philosophy. And that's what I really hope to do. And I just hope to have fun. And really, I hope that the community embraces, what we're trying to do and keeps watching.
Excellent. Well, I'll tell you, I can feel your enthusiasm across the screen here. We're not even in the same proximity, but I can feel it. So, hey, best of luck. Thank you for spending some time with us. We'll post this up, and I love interviewing the interviewer. It's always
I love
fun.
being on this end of it too. It's
Yeah,
so
it's
fun.
it's always fun. It's like I don't have my little notepad, and there won't be a lot of graphics, but we'll get you up there. So thank you so much, Bethany. Good luck with the rest of the time here. Going forward. Appreciate your
Thank you. Thank you for having me.